Welcome back. Another episode, Tres Leches Radio. Ladies and gentlemen, it's yours truly, the Rogaine Dropout Radimus. Gentlemen, let them know.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm coming up with a new one each week, like you guys said. I think it works.
Yeah. You know what it is? So the guy.
I think I broke
back.
Brandon over there. My bad.
You know, as you see, no Rogaine here. Just
nah, man.
That's, you know.
Yeah, I go with the Kobe fade, man. You can't see my reflection, but it's eternal. B-Stacks in the building.
B-Stacks, Rensmatic, gentlemen. Well, so yeah, everybody, welcome back to another episode, Tres Leches Radio. As always, you can always find us on our social media, everything. We've managed to kind of streamline everything. Tres Leches Radio. I'm like stuttering over here. I don't know why. Tres Leches Radio on everything. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, everything. MySpace, Mi Gente, everything.
Oh, yes. Black Planets, Asian Avenue.
We went back in time. So,
yes.
You know, so actually, for starters, before I get into it, and Renzo, I'll set this one up and I'll let you kind of elaborate a little bit.
Yeah.
We want to know what you guys think of our new logo. We have the new Tres Leches Radio logo, which we all just put our minds together, and we worked with a talented graphic designer. Her handle is Futures Past Collective on Instagram. Her name is Marilyn Lira. Renzo,
Yes,
anything you want to add to that? Renzo was the plug here.
Listen, if you need any work done, definitely check her out. Belgian Connect by way of Brazil and Texas. My mom actually hooked it up, who will have sometime next year with her vegan channel. But excellent animation artist, definitely the logo. She saw our vision and was able to design an exquisite masterpiece, to say the least.
Yeah, let us know what you think. We like it anyway. So
Yes.
So yeah, shout out to you, Marilyn. Love the logo. So all right, how should I introduce this? I would like to, we've been kind of in our DMs to each other, bouncing this topic around, kind of giving ourselves little tidbits of this next topic. Anybody who's seen the promos know that today's topic, today's artist, today's legend that we're focusing on has a very amazing history in the rap game. Started out in the hip hop group Leaders of the New School. Had a great relationship with A Tribe Called Quest. Made a timeless cameo on the classic Scenario. Went to high school with Biggie and Jay-Z. Knew Tupac. Has a gang of platinum and gold albums. Even more top 40 hits and just classic rap cuts. He's done songs with everybody from back in the day to now, even Kendrick Lamar, everybody you've heard of, Chris Brown, unreleased joint with Biggie, which I'll mention later in the podcast, blah, blah, blah. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up. Let's give it up for Busta Rhymes, Let's give it up.
Yeah.
Word
Word on my seed.
So Busta Rhymes is a veteran, legend, timeless act. I personally don't think you get many guys like him, if ever, in a lifetime. And to be honest, I don't think since him there's been anyone even like him with his style that reminds me of him. I really think he's a once in a lifetime kind of talent. I don't know if you guys agree with that assessment of Busta Bus.
Easily. I mean, we're looking at like the variations of styles he can do and the different ways he can ride beats that probably even the most advanced MCs can't do. I haven't seen anybody since he's been on the scene then, nor now in 2020.
Yeah, he's as we were prepping for this episode, going back in the catalog and refining our history with him, man. He is literally like a hip hop monument. I can't even. There's like a short list, to me, and there's like 9 names that I can't even imagine hip hop without those names, and he's in there.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, no, very, very well said. So, speaking of 2020, he just dropped an album that he had been teasing for years now. I mean, we had heard snippets over the years. Renz, you mentioned Ninth Wonder went and just declared it like album of the year like weeks ago. So he dropped ELE 2, The Wrath of God. To anybody that maybe listened to just Busta at only certain points in his career, this is the sequel to his 98 excellent album, ELE, Extinction Level Event. The Final World Front. Dropped the 98, lots of bangers on this one. So he pulled a move that a lot of veterans have done. They wanted to craft a sequel to their most their best work, right? So you can add him to the list of people that have done that. Raekwon did it, Eminem did it. So I think we'll just dive into that. So we're gonna focus on whether or not Busta Rhymes in 2020. First off, let me ask you guys this: it's 2020. Were either of you checking for a Busta Rhymes album in 2020 at all?
No. Actually, I was, only because, and how you mentioned about Ninth Wonder. So Ninth Wonder in 2018 had initially said the album was done and called it Album of the Year then. And I remember that was towards the tail end. So originally that was supposed to come out because then, and that's when, remember, he had that cipher with the Flip Mode meets the Conglomerate cipher. So I'm like, okay, this is going to get it. And then after that, I forgot about it. But once it came back up again saying it's coming out, I was still thinking about what Ninth Wonder said in 2018. Like, yo, if he waited an extra year or two, this must be something really monumental, that was going to happen, at that point. So I actually was checking for once that the promo started, rolling out.
What's funny is he did the same thing in 06 for Big Bang. Said that was his favorite album of that year.
Oh, really? Next to the two? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So Brandon, you said you were not anticipating you weren't looking forward to a Busta Rhymes album in 2020.
Nah, and you guys educated me on the Ninth Wonder thing. I didn't know about that. I think he done lost his ear, by the way. But out for another day, not today.
Yeah.
I fell off Busta, to be honest with you, and I'm gonna spend this whole podcast apologizing because maybe I was just moving forward with other type of music in hip hop, but I had fell off Busta by 2002, 2003, I knew what was going on with him. It was hard to ignore him in hip hop, but I had fell off of hardcore following him. And I just in my head, I just figured he had a lot of bad albums. And so in 2020, I just wasn't thinking about him, as far as an album, we said before in podcasts, hit that collaboration with him and Q-Tip is a nice mix. The Diligence mixtape he did with Dilla some years back was excellent. So I was more so looking for B-side stuff like that, but not an official release.
Yeah. I would say they had, when he did the mixtape with Q-Tip, there was one snippet on there that I heard that they said was going to be on ELE2, which when I'm hearing ELE2, it's not on there. And that caught my ear because it was something that I think Q-Tip produced. And that made me curious, not through the roof, because Busta Rhymes, I think going into this album, he had a couple of misses prior to this. So I was definitely kind of okay, is this another trying to cling on to marketing attention by just slapping the title ELE back on it and, just trying to get attention? And is it going to be another pandering to the current audience type of thing? But I will say this album, first of all, this album's long as hell. Busta Rhymes, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, I feel like throughout his career, with the exception of maybe his debut, he's always made albums too long and not be he overbloats them. He adds songs on there that just don't need to be on there. And I feel like this album, the first thing that jumped out at me, just looking at the track listing, when I saw it was 20 something plus songs, I was just it looked like he had fallen into that same trap. And I was telling Renzo, the standard version of this album is 77 minutes long. That's in 2020. I think there's only certain people that can pull off a long album in 2020. And I feel like you got to kind of be in your prime, because when you're in your prime, your audience will listen to anything you do. And then he came out with the deluxe edition, added 4 more songs. It pushes the album up to over 90 minutes. It qualifies as a double album just off the strength of that. That's how long this album is. But but before I give it, are we all in agreement this album's too damn long?
Yeah, that's been his Achilles heel. And even when we look at the first album, while the first album was 63 minutes, you still had 4 or 5 songs on the first album that were 6 minutes plus. Too. So between long albums and sometimes overly long posse cuts, I think it's always been kind of his Achilles heel.
Yeah,
so, okay.
But this is what he been doing, man. He's a long-winded dude, bro. He don't even talk in short sense. So I give him the pass. with this one. I'm not gonna be hard on the list. I'm not. But for my taste, yes, it's too long.
All right. So as far as the meat and potatoes, what are some of the things you guys feel he did right on this album? What did he get right on this release? He had years to put this together. You know, he wasn't like on some clock where he's got to do every year. You're gonna hear. What did he do right on this album?
All right. Well, I'm gonna say the freaking release date, the timing, was perfect. I mean, this guy, it's almost like, and he's already said this, that he wasn't manifesting like what happened in 2020, but like my man was from the beginning. He was already like, yo, it's something's coming, y'all, you know. And he's like, yo, disaster strikes, you know. And then he's like, you know, extinction level event. Like he's always been priming to this, and I've heard him speak about it. And he just was saying that he kind of caught wind of creativity, and you know, he wasn't really trying to be, a conspiracy theorist. But man, 2020, bro. I mean, I just give him credit. He gets an A with timing. This was, I mean, come on, this was the time to do this.
Definitely was.
Yeah, it came out within and it came out within a week of the election, right? Like so with all that going on,
perfect. Like timing, I give him that. And I'll let y'all, you know, fill in the gaps. But I would say, because see, a lot of times, like I said, I wasn't even really ready for a Busta or waiting for it. But in this gridlock that we're in politically, you know, socially, medically, spiritually, extinction level event, this is it. This is it. So I don't even fault him on like if he wanted to wait, or if it was a nice say, yo, we should have been 2 years ago. Like the time it was meant.
I definitely agree, because I think had this album come out in 2018, I don't think we would have been talking the same way we're talking about it now.
Nah.
You know, given everything that you kind of spoke on. So it was the perfect time, whatever, if it was sample and clearancing issues or him saying he wanted to link back with Dre, whatever those reasons were, time-wise, it fit perfectly just with the whole mood of this year, you know. So I definitely think that was right, you know, in that respect. And then the themes that he had throughout the album, you know, as far as bringing like the science into it, and then even he did sprinkle some conspiracy stuff in it, which still kind of fell in line even with the predecessor albums. So, you know, with the overall theme, I think that was now I'll talk later about how I don't think the theme was executed the best, but as far as overall theme he was going with, you know, that was definitely the right direction for sure.
Yeah, I think this is the first album in his whole career where he came close to following a theme, because like I feel like on the other albums, even the ones that I enjoyed, I know he followed like kind of like the doomsday apocalypse kind of the titles and stuff. The albums almost never seemed to actually follow the title. They were just more like, you know, they sounded good for marketing, but then like you listen to like Genesis, it's just like, you know, maybe it's a loose thing or like allusion to, hey, I'm using different producers, but there wasn't on all those albums, even on the original ELE, he doesn't, with the exception of like the intros and the outros where he talks about end of the world and what it's going to be like and blah, blah, blah. This was the first album where it feels like it. He's got songs like, you know, like The Purge. He's got the opening track with Rock Him. You know what I'm saying? Like he's got the Satanic, which is like the last song. He has songs on here that actually stick to the script. But like you were saying, Renzo, he goes off the rails. What I love, and this was something that I kind of said maybe in like conversations we had, Busta to me is at his best when he's working with like a DJ Scratch, a Q-Tip, a Pete Rock. He got a Dilla beat on here, and I think it's one of the best songs on the album. When he's working with those producers, there's just something so natural that just works, and those are some of the bright spots of the album. Like for me, the first 10 tracks, I'm listening to this album, I'm like, yo, Busta might really pull this 20 plus tracks off. You know, but I think, and Renzo, you kind of alluded to it, he, even on this album, he still tries to add in radio records. You know, like what were you thinking with the Mariah Carey joint? He was trying to make a part 2 of the joint he did with her. You know, the Baby If You Give It To Me, the beat's almost even the same. You know, he tried, and the joint with Vibes Cartel, I hate the hook to that. Like Nicki Minaj, I do not like that song at all.
The Mariah Carey's definitely had scratch, just because like that was what was that on the Genesis album? They had that song?
No, it was on It Ain't Safe No More.
Ain't Safe. Okay, Ain't Safe No More. All right, so you're doing a sequel, but you're doing a sequel to a song that wasn't even part of like the original, the first predecessor out.
Yeah.
So that kind of threw me off.
That was,
it's not an official sequel, but I think he tried to like pull the nostalgia card there. I think.
If anything, he should have went with Janet.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a better collab.
Yeah, and then Janet actually got stuff out right now. Like, so I don't know why that didn't, whatever. But
yeah. I think, and it's funny that we're talking about this now. So my gripe, and we talked about it already a little bit earlier. First listen, I was kind of like, kind of disappointed. Second, third listen, it's growing on me. But I think the main difference, even though this one follows a theme more so than the first ELE, is that we're dealing with a flip mode Busta Rhymes versus now a conglomerate Busta Rhymes, so to speak, as far as the energy and what he's trying to do. Because like when me and Jamil had conversations on Saturday, we won't go through the whole thing, but one of his biggest gripes was that it wasn't the Busta old, in the sense that he's expecting 98 Busta based off the title, the album, and then he's feeling like it's maybe more him trying to be too modified for today, which I didn't fully agree with, but I kind of saw where he was coming from as far as the angle. But I look at when we look at not only ELE, but the albums that led up to that, you had flip mode involved. So you had Lord Have Mercy, you had Spliff Star, you had Ross. So you had that energy there. So when I was expecting with the sequel, now granted, flip mode was pretty much disbanded, but still maybe has some sprinkles of that there, and that wasn't there. So that was one of the main things I noticed. Like, man, that I don't get that same feel, or that maybe that same initial excitement, just because I'm dealing with a different version, a different time frame, so to speak, at that point. So that was one thing I noticed. And then, like I said, you had some of the real conscious songs, and then you went to like to a party song or him look for radio hit that completely missed, that had nothing to do with the overall theme, of the album, to me, which is kind of taken away from what you were really trying to accomplish with, with that theme.
Yeah, and you know what? And it's funny because I thought about that. I was like, I wouldn't have minded, even if he didn't have Lord Have Mercy on this or whatever, or Baby Shit.
Mercy.
I wouldn't have minded like Rod Digger.
Yeah,
I like just her pitch, how it contrasts with the kind of dark tones on this. She would have been perfect anywhere on this album.
Yeah, you from Jersey, bro.
Exactly. It's the home team, but also, what Renzo was saying, I'm not gonna say I counter with that, but I actually like Busta Rhymes in this version now, because he was very close to sticking to the script on this album. To me, he tries to recapture old glory with all those radio attempts. The only radio attempt that I think will bang, even if we ever go out, is the Belle Biv DeVoe joint. I love that they flipped the sample to the Out of My Mind. Now, you can make the argument, what is it doing on this album? But I like it as an individual song. But I can definitely see the argument. Like that one I won't remove from my playlist. I can tell you right now, I removed the joint with no, I'm looking at the wrong one, with Vibes Cartel, right. the Mariah Carey joint, and I didn't like he did a song Oh No. He threw like it felt like an obligatory trap record in there. And like I'm just like it just didn't flow for me. So this album felt like it had a lot of potential, like I said, to stick to the script, but it just, I don't know who his coach is. I don't know who oversees him, but someone's got to be in there to just be like, you don't need this one in here. You don't the thing is, when you've had the success that he has, who's he going to listen to at this point? Like if he knows I was successful doing things this way.
It's hard. That's hard to master, because I mean, Busta's kind of always been a wild card, man.
Yeah.
And like, the Coming Alone was an experiment. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, it wasn't methodology. It was like, we're going to just take this fish out of this pond and like throw him in the river and just see what happens. You know what I mean? He came up with a hit single, like in 4 weeks, Wuha went platinum. Yeah. And then everybody's buying that album. So I don't know. He was always a wild card. You know what I mean? So I think it's easier said than kind of done.
That's what I'm saying. Like, who can, like, he's a ball. I've seen him live. He's a ball of energy, man. I saw him do the scenario verse live, and I mean, he shook the place. So, but I'm saying, but I think that's also that's hindered him a bit, And I think the one thing we all haven't said, that we said this to each other, what was Chris Rock doing on this album?
That was not that. That was the biggest right thing. Like, it was cool maybe for the intro, but then when you had him on, I think he might have been on maybe 4 or 5, maybe 6 times throughout the album, it's like, you're not needed anymore. to me, especially at the end.
Yeah,
and it's
what
just
was
going,
that? He was
like,
like, he's making jokes on an album that has a very serious theme throughout
yeah.
it.
And that's why, this took away from it,
Well, we said this in our voice notes. He was used beautifully in Kanye West's My Dark Twisted Fantasy.
Yeah, it made sense there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was overused. It's like maybe like one skit to have Rock on there. And I love CR, man. That's my guy, but he was definitely overused.
I think he had too much champagne when he got on there.
Yeah, they was having too much fun, man.
Okay. But the piggyback of the Belle DeVoe, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't like that song.
I didn't like that.
I understand how he was trying to do the flips and stuff, but I could have definitely done without that song. Period. I like the Mariah Carey song better than that.
Wow, really? Wow.
Yeah. So when I was listening to it earlier, I'm like, I get it that he wants to show his versatility, but to me that was a miss for me. Personally.
See, I like it, but I think it doesn't flow. Like with the way the album was starting, it's random. Yeah. It's just kind of like, the Purge, strap yourself down, and then it's just like, it just like. But I will say I do like that one. So and I would say to kind of like bring this home. Just to recap, I think he worked with a lot of the right producers that I've always said he does his best work with. Like I said, Knott's got a lot of airtime on this. DJ Scratch, yo. Do you guys realize
this is
the first?
Yeah. I was surprised about. I didn't realize that
in 2020.
Me neither. Yeah. So I mean, that alone gives him like 5 points on the Richter scale.
How many woo-ha's is that, Brandon? Like,
that's 2 woo-ha's.
Yo, I didn't realize that. Like all this time, I was just kind of, and I look at, well, I don't have the booklet in front of me, and I was like, it's the first time, and I was like, yo, they could have done this years ago, and it's an album standout. They got, they even got Brandon. I know they got your man High Tech on here and Terrace Martin.
Yep.
That's the joint with Rick Ross, Renzo.
Yeah. Great track.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite tracks, the Farrah Muhammad. And it's funny, it's Ross always comes correct on a lot of most collabos that he gets on, and he was actually on subject line on this one. We've seen Ross go on any subject no matter what, but he was on his guy body. On the Farrah Muhammad.
Lemon pepper wing. Was there a lemon pepper wing reference? I can't remember.
He was about to do it, but he said I got to slap first.
Oh snap! Rick Ross heard me. But you know what? But with Rick Ross, I think he only has like one flow that he uses. Like he worked on that song. I'm not gonna say, but I feel like he uses that flow like on everything. But man, but just to recap it, this album, I don't think
it's our grade for this album. Okay, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. I think it's bloated. I removed, and there's bonus tracks, which Renzo, we were talking about it before. There's like 4 bonus tracks added. I didn't keep any one of them. They all sound like there's the joint with Eminem. It's called "Calm Down," which was released like independent, like maybe at least a year or 2 ago. So it's kind of like forced flow Eminem, so it's not really the most enjoyable record. And the other 3 are just like trap sounding joints. I think one of them's like UK drill. They're more attempts at the modern sound, so I like that they're not on the actual standard version of the album. I didn't keep any of them. Like I said, with all tracks, it's like 26 songs. I knocked mine down to like 18 songs, and it brought it down to about like 60 something minutes. I took a half hour off of this album.
Yeah.
Like as far as what are the songs I'm going to listen to, I would have to say off the top of my head, if I'm judging it as a standard edition album, not the bonus tracks, I wouldn't give this any more. Like if this was the Source Days, I wouldn't give it any more than 3.5 mics. That's where I would put.
That's where I was kind of at. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I'm going to ask you this, and it's going to based off the Griselda episode. You gave my man Westside Gunn 4 mics.
Mm-hmm.
For Who Made the Sunshine. Do you still hold on to that and say that's a better album?
Westside Gunn's Who Made the Sunshine, it's not bloated. Versus this, I gotta say it's not bloated. That's the one thing he has over. Busta Rhymes is a better MC than Westside Gunn every day of the week, twice on Sunday. But there's the album architecture standpoint, and that's what separates like a dope MC from a dope recording artist. And I think that I would still keep it at the 4. Busta Rhymes didn't need to make this album this long. West Side Gun
Right
at
there.
least made it short enough. You know, I know it's weird to put West Side Gun over Busta Rhymes, but that's just how I feel.
No, I can understand that. I definitely was still feeling like the 3.5 just because of the bloatedness. I think if this would probably would have been the perfect opportunity for him to say, hey, let me just get this like a 13, 14 track, almost like a King's Disease album. Maybe give you about 45, 50 minutes, but no filler. I think if he done that, I think the Ninth Wonder, yeah, he got the album. He got the album of the year at that point. But given, you know, this a lot of the inconsistencies in between, I can't go beyond it. The highest made 3.75. I'm still more in that 3.5, you know, range, you know, for this right here.
Yeah, same for me. I was kind of searching for what I really loved about it, and I can't tell you what I love. Other than he sounds really fresh, like his voice.
Very rejuvenated,
Yeah.
you know, especially
Yes.
from the previous years.
Yes, his voice sounds like A1, which is always great. But yeah, I would say 3.5.
Yeah, and for the stuff that I love on here, I actually think it's some of the best music he's recorded in like over a decade. So that's why it's like, damn, he could have had, like Brenzo, like you said, he could have had that album of the year. He just scaled it down, man. Dr. Dre knew in 2006 when they did Big Bang, you got to stop making albums so long. That's why Big Bang ain't more than like 60 minutes. So Dr. Dre knew that, you know what I'm saying? And that was Busta Rhymes' only #1 album. So I wish he had taken that with him over the years. So so then we all agree ELE2 is not album of the year.
No.
Ninth Wonder is lying to us.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not the album of the year.
Yeah, no, I
it
agree.
started off really strong, but not that album.
Yeah, solid album, 3.5.
I mean, see, I don't like that source rating either, but because that's restricting. Because, like, to me, if it's gonna grow on me, to call this a 4 mic album is tough, bro. Like, I rather do it in like an A, B, F. You know what I mean? A to F.
So what letter would you give it right now?
All right, perfect. Right now, I would give it like a C+, B-. But I feel like it could be like a B. I feel like I could learn more and like it more, like not that long from now.
I got it at about a B- as well. I would say B- if we're doing that.
Yeah.
B-, something I didn't get much of in school. So yeah, B-.
Yeah, I give it C+ with the you know, with the hope for a B-, because like it's growing on me. Like the first couple listens,
it's growing on me too.
You know, it's just like it's this Chris Rock, man. That's one of the main records. You know, take Chris Rock off, I already give you a B.
Oh, you know what? The one thing I wanted to ask you guys, how do y'all feel about the Kendrick collabo? I don't love it.
Well, here's the thing, and I remember the whole interview saying how they came along with this. I believe to this day, and I only know because of the leak that came out years ago, that was a song that was supposed to be on Good Kid, Mad City, because that song's about 5 years old. That song's more than 5 years. That song at least about 6-7 years old.
That would not have sounded right on Good Kid, Mad City at all.
So I think it was initially a throwaway where Kendrick is still a hot artist, still a very relevant artist. Why not try to reuse it? Especially because they couldn't get that sample clear originally, you know. But they made it sound like, oh, we just came along with it. I had that song on my computer for about 3 or 4 years now. So I'm not, and you can tell the difference in Kendrick's raps. That was a younger Kendrick rap.
Oh, so he kept his verses and everything from back then. Okay, wow.
It's the same exact song. You know, I mean, they tweaked the beat a little bit, but it's the same exact song.
I'm cool with it. I'll be 3 seconds.
It's solid. It's not great. It's solid. You know.
Yeah, I just thought it was that MJ sample went to waste a little bit, man. Like because you know why? Because I think there's some outstanding production on that album. I just don't think that song is one of them, and I think that's a Knots beat. But yeah, I was just curious because I know that's one of the big features on there. So
it's a clout song. It's a clout chasing song. I mean, let's call it for what it is.
Yeah.
But again, and that's no disrespect to neither, but it's a clout chasing song. You know.
Yeah. Again, I mean, time will tell more with how that grows to your ear. Like, you know, I know those got more history with that song than a lot of us. But sometimes you got to sit back and wait, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm not saying it's a bad song. I'm just saying for how the album theme is. The song on its own, I don't think it's a real bad song. I'm looking at the song as far as that body of work of the album itself is how I'm looking at it, at this point here.
Yeah. I don't think it's I don't think it's like, I didn't remove it off my playlist, but I don't think it's a top track on the album. So we're going to have to revisit this in the DMs in a few months. So
Definitely.
All right. So that's how we feel about ELE2. So, all right. Let's now we're gonna break down Busta Rhymes a little bit more on a big picture scale. All right. So the question that I'm posing today is Busta Rhymes a legend without a true classic album? And for a point of reference, all right, when I'm saying classics, right, I'm talking like the Paid in Fulls, Illmatic, Blueprint, B, 36 Chambers, which is a group album, but albums that are just constantly, no matter who you are just always in that conversation, right? So is Busta Rhymes a legend without a true classic album?
100%. And I look at it like this. He might not have that true standout classic, but how many of these classics that we mentioned of, from these artists that we all love and respect, how many of them have the same longevity and consistency of Busta Rhymes? We're talking about somebody since the early 90s to 2020 who still knows how to make the right hits when need be. Well, I'll say compromising his art. Not only that, he's an artist who's not afraid to go outside of the box at any given point. I think he has too many timeless classics, songs to not say that he's not in the same lane. Granted, a classic album would solidify that, but at this point, I don't think he needs one to say that he's one of the GOATs in the game, especially what he brings to the table, musically.
And I actually think has been inconsistent. But Brandon,
well, later years, but we're talking about, let's say, from the beginning he came out to, let's say, at least 08, 09, and there might be mishaps there, even on features. If you wanted a feature outside of Luda to just go in, you were still going for Busta in the 2000s still.
Yeah, definitely. Real, Yeah. I'm popping, not just rap shit, pop hits too. Pussycat Dolls called him up.
So you look at all the stuff he's done, beyond that. You can't deny that.
Right. I think that he served as like artists were like Biggie and Nas were like slaves to their first albums. They they were haunted by it, which didn't probably do justice to their careers. I feel like Busta was kind of relieved in the sense of not having that pressure of having a classic first album, almost in the sense of like, and I know a lot of people don't agree with this. Like everybody says Mobb Deep Infamous is a classic, but the source didn't give the Infamous 5 mics. They got 4. Busta got 4 for The Coming. And in a way, it kind of frees up that artist to just be able to create freely, without judgment. So Mobb Deep was able to just do a Hell on Earth, do a Murder Music, so on and so forth, HNIC. And I think it saved Busta, because he was able to just flow in the creative space every single time. And I'm gonna say this, I apologize. It Ain't Safe No More, Genesis, they're good albums. I thought that they were, like looking back, maybe I just wasn't analyzing them at the time. I wasn't maybe in that hip hop space. I was looking at other things. They're good albums, yo. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Back on My BS was the only album that I'm like, okay, that's probably the dud, But he doesn't have a whack joint, like, for about like 13 years, man. Like, and then like you said, like if you want to box with the hits, take your best shot.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this.
He would have a crazy playlist. Yeah.
And this is more of a general question because this kind of came to me last night. It was almost like an aha moment. Now, do we think we talk about how? Cause I think we're all kind of agreeing that Busta don't have that true classic, but at the same time, is it more because of his animated style? Because I almost look at like same thing like with Ludacris, excellent lyricist, does have a true classic album. And to me, the only type of animated rapper that might have that true classic might have been a Redman, maybe Eminem, depending on your preference or taste of music. But only like Redman, And
well, with Busta, I think The Coming, it's the same thing with Infamous. Infamous didn't get the 5 mic, but everybody knows that's a classic. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I feel like The Coming is like right below the Infamous.
Yeah.
If I'm in the street, I call that album a classic. But I know in hip hop circles, not everybody feels that way.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I do think the animated style, because he wasn't maybe taken seriously. You know what I mean? Especially with the imagery. I do think you have a point, Zoe, that had a point. Like people just weren't taking them for real, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you go that animated route like him, right? It's his signature style. But I think that very animated style, like you said, he's a wild card. He's gonna just the energy. He's just gonna put it down. But I think it also contributed to a lot of his albums, some more than others. I'm not gonna say every one of them, feeling like they lacked a certain amount of direction that I think certain classics have. I think because he's such a wild card, you know what I mean? If you just had one album from him that felt like it had a certain direction it was going to go in, and I thought ELE2 started off like it was going to be that album. It almost sounded like he was going to finally do it. I think that's what it is. It's that very style that, even though it makes him a legend, at the same time, I think that's what causes the incohesiveness of certain projects. I think the best way to say with Busta Rhymes is he's a Hall of Famer without a ring. You know what I mean? Like he's performed well at home and away, on the, like on the features. I feel like he's had a chance to go to the final dance, but he just couldn't secure that key W. So, you know what I'm saying? Like he's going to get his Hall of Fame, jacket, whatever it is. Like he's in that conversation with all these A-listers. He just doesn't have the ring is the way I would say it. And he's somebody that was totally capable of it. But he is absolutely in that conversation because everybody I just said before and a bunch of others I may not be naming, they may have a classic album, but he can do things that some of them just flat out can't do, are not able to do. His ability to flow, his energy. You can't flows you can improve, but you can't teach that energy. You can't teach that radiance, that passion. You either are it or you're not. That's a God-given thing, and that's his key element. So, I think maybe ELE1 might have been the closest he could have come to maybe really dropping. I think and I'll elaborate on that one in the next segment. I think that might have been the closest he would have come. But and he's versatile as hell. It would have just been nice if you could have packaged it all together just one time for him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right. So I think we actually kind of covered. Hold on a second. Yeah, we kind of covered two at the same time. So
it's all good.
Yeah.
So I would say now that this album has come out, and I still have it in rotation. ELE2 is dropped. We know what we like about it, what we didn't like about it. What is left for Busta Rhymes to do, or what would you like from him out of his career musically? Any kind of moves, like what you want him to resurrect the bougie clothing line, like like we're on the reunite
right
flip
there,
mode.
Like,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like what's left for Busta Rhymes at this point, or what would you like?
I think what we just talked about, him trying to achieve that true classic, and I think the only way he can achieve it, and we kind of threw hints out there before, is with Q-Tip. It don't necessarily need to be a full Q-Tip produced album, but as far as Q-Tip being the executive producer and say, okay, I'll maybe give you 5-6 beats, but I'm going to handpick the rest of the production. I'll give you a perfect example. And Danny Brown. So Danny Brown's last album was executive produced by Q-Tip. Q-Tip, I think, might have produced maybe 1 or 2 beats, but he looked at the overall direction to the point where Danny Brown started rapping back to his regular voice. He let go of the high-pitched voice. And he even said that Q-Tip made me want to relearn how to rap, in that sense, where I'm not going high-pitched, but just be more of an MC. So I think that Busta just need that guidance, because we all saw how Busta was on the last Tribe album. If we can get that version of Busta on that album with that type of production and that type of direction, let's say that's his, this is my last album, this is my last gift to you. I think he can get his we are giving his roses today, but that could be his send-off album and could possibly be his best album if Q-Tip is the one manning that direction and that feel for it.
Yeah. I know if you was about to say something.
Nah, that's a really good question and a really good answer. I think Q-Tip in that driver's seat would really help What do I need from Busta Rhymes, man?
Cause that, what else? What else? He has nothing to prove at this point.
Yeah, he ain't got nothing to prove, bro.
He's nothing to prove.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing to prove.
I do believe, yeah, like he showed on this album that he can still rap, he can still do it, he can still put songs together. He just needs the coach. And you know, after all these years, I agree with you, Renzo, and I know that we posted the clip earlier in the week in the Hang Up the Mic episode. The coach, I think, Q-Tip overseeing it. That's exactly what I would want. And whatever he does next, make shorter albums, dude. There's no reason for Busta Rhymes to make 70-minute albums anymore. Make shorter albums. And you know what? Pick better versus opponents. I think T.I. was beneath him.
I think he did that mostly because how T.I. was acting reckless. You know.
Yeah, he poked.
But you know, I think that was the point saying that you can't mess with me. You can't mess with the God. Like you remember he said, he's like, "You're a king, I'm a god." You know, and that was his whole point saying you're not even on anybody on a level to come at New York the way he was coming at New York. So I think that was more him like sit down.
After I figured out L.E.E. was coming out, I was like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Well, that part too, but yeah.
That was all. That was all.
Their albums came out a few weeks apart. I didn't like T.I. dropped one called The Libra. Yeah.
Libra, yeah.
It's a whack ass name. Sorry.
Well, is that Zodiac?
I like T.I. a lot, and I have respect for astrology. I'm never saying my album will never be called Scorpio Drake.
I actually think that was, and then Busta Rhymes actually said, I'll challenge both T.I. and Jeezy. He said he would do a 2-on-1. He actually said
he wants triple. He said like triple threat.
Yeah,
he can handle him.
Yes, I think he still wins if he does that.
Oh, easily.
He still wins. He still wins.
Like what I am said. Like he said, once you put my hands where my eyes can see, what do you put on after that?
Yeah, man. Seriously.
What do you put on? He's like, what do you put on after that? That's that song alone. And we know Busta got more hits than that. But he said, once you put my hands can see,
touch it alone is like that's a heat rock right there.
No.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So there ain't much for him left to do. It would just be nice for him to just present an album just to that way. Just the one way he really hasn't done it. He kind of did it, but we're actually gonna get into that in the next segment. So to kind of cap this,
what about the recoming?
Oh snap! There's got to be another. I feel like there's a synonym that's like. I'm not thinking of it right now, but I don't know. I don't know how he would do that. Right?
Like what if I know we moving on, but what if he he did Extinction Level Event 2. I told y'all the world was ending. I was right. How about we go back then? How about we go rebirth, recoming, like a.
Well, remember that's how the first song was saying. Like this is just to destroy to rebuild. So you could do that angle. It's
do it like
possible.
A movie.
Or so when disaster strikes, or he could be like, disaster has struck. just really milk those old titles out.
Yo, R. Kelly trapped in the closet 5 parts, baby.
I thought it was more than that.
Yeah, that was like
All right, gentlemen. So lightning round. Okay, so I'll say you guys do this, announce these all at the same time. On my mind just clogged up there. Renzo, what are your top 3 Busta Rhymes albums? And just a quick reason as to why you have them in, why these 3 and why that order.
One is my top Busta album. I think that's the energy, that's the mood I was at that time then, and even listening to it now. Even though you could say there might have been too many tracks, might have been a little bloated. There's really nothing really that to me that's skippable on that album. You know, he had the right collabos. He had Ozzy on there. I was banging with Ozzy. So when he had Ozzy on there, I'm like, hell yeah.
Janet.
You know what I mean? Janet, Mystical, you know what I mean? So that's definitely my favorite album. Number 2 is The Big Bang Theory. I think that was his most complete album. And I think a lot of that was because of Dre trimming it down. He had some introspective records on there. So you saw more of a personal side of Busta that you don't see in a lot of his, other previous albums. Third one will be When Disaster Strikes. Props to Puffy, because Puffy, he even said Puffy was the one that told him, hey, I know you go with the young, but let's slow him down a little bit.
Yeah,
and that's when we got Put My Hands Where Your Eyes Can See. And that's when you could start seeing more versatility of Busta. So those are my top 3, in his catalog.
You ain't got the coming in there, huh?
Oh, so
It's
B-Stacks.
there. Listen, when Disaster Strike and Coming were like this and this, I think my main difference was with the Coming. You had like to say like Flip Movies, Death Squad. That was like almost like 6-7 minutes long. They had another.
I
They
like
had 3
that posse
posse
cut
cuts,
though.
and
Yeah.
I do. But I just felt like some of the songs now, as I'm in 2020 versus me in '96, kind of a little dragging, so to speak. But to me, they can flip flop at any point. Really, it's just that right now, today, tomorrow could be the Coming, but right now I'll get a slight edge to Disaster Strikes.
All right, what's your top 3 Busta Rhymes albums?
I just had an epiphany, man. I'm sorry. Listeners, whatever. Forget what I just said the last 20 minutes. I'm sorry. The Big Bang, it just might be a classic. That
It's
album
very close.
is phenomenal.
I love the Big Bang.
So is that your top? Is that your top Busta Rhymes album?
Yes, it's in the. So I'm gonna go with the Coming, bro. The Coming is number 1. I mean, that is just like what?
Hot fudge.
Everything remains raw.
Oof.
Like, yo, like
I make sure everything. Oh my God.
Yo, turn down your windows. It's gonna blow up your doors if you play that song with a system. The Coming is number 1.
The joint with John A too. It's a
Party. The whole
my
album.
God.
I get what y'all saying with the bloated, the podcast stuff. The Coming is number 1. Big Bang is I'm just coming to this epiphany. I think that's a perfect album. Like when we were
like I said, it's the most complete album.
Yeah. Like when we were revisiting these albums, I'm like, damn. Cause like in my head, the Big Bang was the comeback album. I was like, yo, Busta back. He's with Aftermath. You know what I mean? And he kind of had to fall off, quote unquote.
Shaved the braids, the dreads off too.
Yeah, He had the haircut, so he was visibly different. He was like bigger. You know what I'm saying? That album, that's number 2. I think that album is phenomenal. And my third album, so when Disaster Strikes, that is like, for you, Renz, we're all the same age. So that's the album where I was like most connected to intimately, right? Because I love that album. I actually bought that album with my own hands. But I gotta go LEE over When Disaster Strikes. I think that was the one for him where he had reached an apex of hip hop and aesthetic. You know what I mean? Like so complete. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where like personally, I like When Disaster Strikes more. But if I'm like going objectively, I can't front on LEE. So LEE is gonna be the third one for me.
Okay. So you went Coming, Big Bang, and ELE.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So ironically, mine is exactly like Renzo's. It was just a little bit closer. ELE is he took that huge leap sonically. When you listen to his first 2 albums, The Coming and When Disaster Strikes, they're not terribly different in sound. I just think When Disaster Strikes is the better version of The Coming. But then when he goes from When Disaster Strikes to ELE, he's got these crazy futuristic beats that's the first album where he found beats that matched his energy. So even though he sounds good on those first 2 albums, the very ball of fire that he is, those beats complemented him probably the best. And I think that was the big things. And so he went from having albums that were very East Coast sounding to now that were a little bit more like region free. Like, yo, you could bang that album in any region of this, and it went hard. I say the second album again, Big Bang. I think that album was maybe one draft away from being better than just good. And maybe could have pushed it to a classic conversation on a grand scale. I know that, like you said.
Hold on. Gotta pause you because let's be fair.
Okay.
When that album, the year that album came out, fuck it. Let's give it 2 years. Let's just say, all right, Big Bang comes out in
06.
So let's do this. 2006 to 2008. Give me 5 albums better than than Big Bang, because it's almost, we comparing Busta Rhymes to Busta Rhymes, right?
Yeah.
But I'm
From
saying
06?
Yeah. From what I'll give you a bracket of 2 more years. And I think that's how good that album is. I think it's better than what came out in 07. and a week.
I think Fish Scale was better. I think Q-Tip's The Renaissance was better. I'm gonna go Kanye's Graduation. I'm gonna go maybe Not Finding Forever. Damn, because it's funny because for me, 06 as far yeah. So
it's not Finding Forever. Nah.
No, I wouldn't say that one.
Those are 3 strong ones though. That's an argument. All those ones, Graduation for sure. Yeah, that's a good argument.
I still will give the edge to Big Bang over Fish Scale, and I like Fish Scale, but it's funny because, like I said, my only complaint with the Busta Rhymes, like the Missy, I know a lot of people didn't like the Missy track. That was doable. I just didn't really like the song with the him and Khalees. You know, it was like
that's
that forced
the
radio
biggest ear
hair.
sore. Yeah.
Outside of
that's
that,
the Braveheart party of that album, man.
Yeah. Outside of that, I can't really say there's nothing wrong with that album personally. You know, and like I said, that is his most complete album. The Rick James thing, the Stevie Wonder collab.
The
remix. He did the remix with Ludacris too. I love that, man. I don't know how they haven't worked together more. Yeah, I would say like the Khalees joint. There was probably impossible expectations on the Busta and Missy joint. I felt like that underdelivered. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But Busta did stuff with Missy on Missy's first album too. People forget.
Yeah.
People forget about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was, but
Brian hijack your list.
So I would say but Big Bang is my number 2 Busta Rhymes album. Like I said, I still think it was maybe one draft away from being everybody's undeniable number 1. And then the last one was I say When Disaster Strikes, and honestly, I almost even going into today, I almost had When Disaster Strikes as my number 2. I think it's his most true to region and era album. Remember, this is 1 year before ELE, so this is like a very strong East Coast sounding, excellent effort. His flows are fresh. You know, this is only his sophomore album. He's I feel like he diversified his flows a little bit. You know, and what's interesting is this album actually has an incredible European, you know, like the European version back then on the CDs, they would get a version of a song that like ours wouldn't. He has a song called It's All Good. It's like a sexual song. That, and then the remix to the Turn It Up, which the original is dope. But the Fire It Up, which wound up getting a video and all that, like just pushed that album up even higher. And I gotta say, I don't think When Disaster Strikes, it really, there's maybe 2 songs that I would remove. And it's a long album. It's over 70 minutes. For all the albums that he has like bloated track listings on it, When Disaster Strikes really isn't one of them. You know, I think, you know, the talking intros maybe a little bit much. But yeah, I almost had that over Big Bang. But right now I'm going to say, like I said, ELE 1, Big Bang number 2, When Disaster Strikes number 3. That's my top 3 Busta Rhymes album. Anybody listening, you want to get a nice, well-rounded experience of Busta Rhymes, those 3 albums easily. Brandon, I almost had the coming battling it out for When Disaster Strikes. So
yeah, same.
I had it. Yeah, like it's a good, like that's why I made it 3 and not 5, because I kind of wanted to like, all right, you know, something's got to get cut off. You know what I mean? Right, so I like Genesis too. I don't love It Ain't Safe No More. I agree with you that Big Bang, not Big Bang, Back of My Bullshit is probably his worst album.
That's the
Genesis is a little bit lengthy, but you got that album's just full of bangers. I don't think it's a bad album.
Bangers galore.
Yeah.
But is it safe to say that, because we look at the Becoming, When Disaster Strikes, and ELE.
Anarchy.
Well, Anarchy too, but I'm saying, but in
I like Anarchy.
Span, but in a 3-year span, the first album, like that's almost unheard of when you think about the 90s. You had like mostly these like 2-3 years. He essentially dropped 3 albums within the first 3 years of his solo career.
He went 3 for 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he went 3 for 3.
Yeah, that was trifecta. You know, we want to look at that perspective in that time frame. You know, in that era, especially
with the competition he had too. Yeah, I think he went 3 for 3. And I know you just mentioned Anarchy. I like that album a lot more than I actually thought. Like it again, remove a couple tracks. It's almost like a continuation to ELE sonically. Yeah. I like Anarchy better than, you know, like Genesis. It pretty much every album afterwards, with the exception of like Big Bang, I would say. I think that album is Brandon, we talking about Enjoy the Ride. I think that is a top tier Busta Rhymes song produced by the late great Dilla.
Two goats at it. And
Nah.
Dilla was on every single Busta album other than The Coming when JD was alive, man. You know what I mean? So before we gonna wrap up.
Yeah. So
yeah. But you know, for the listeners out there, go through the catalog, man, because as much as I'm of the 90s and the 2000s, like it's stuff that I missed out on. I had to go back. I'm like, damn, I knew the singles and some of these songs, but some of the B-side cuts I didn't really know. And I think that Buster will be more appreciated by the kids now, because I feel like we were like, Buster's so hip hop, but I feel like we were still looking at music in a one-dimensional
Great tunnel. Tunnel.
Yep. I do believe that these kids now will be able to appreciate him later. And he may have a unearthed classic album that our era didn't, anoint.
Yeah. Could be the Big Bang,
Yep.
All right. So hope y'all enjoyed our Busta Rhymes episode, the ELE2 review, the albums, just kind of touching on some high points of his career. As always, check us out on Tres Leches Radio on every platform available. Let us know what you thought. Give us your top 3. Let us know what you think of ELE2. And that's all I got. You guys got anything?
Subscribe. Show some love to the YouTube page. We also started a playlist now with the God Body Anthems.
Yeah.
Volume 1 is up there now. So you need something to ride to, work out to. Definitely check it out, and there'll be more to come, as well as hopefully some playlists for upcoming episodes as well.
Hey, appreciate y'all, man. Ja Rule episode on the way.
Baby. Who Busta Rhymes actually had dissed once upon a time. So you guys can find that on YouTube. So
Legend of the Fall Offs.
There you go. All right. So as always, it was a pleasure. Look us up, Tres Leches Radio. Let us know what you thought, and we're out of here. Peace.
All right, peace.